It was a deep, silent night. The only sounds in the darkness were the distant chirping of crickets and the soft rustling of dry leaves in the wind. In the middle of this lonely landscape stood an old farmhouse known as Poroth Farm. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary rural property, but the locals had whispered about it for years. To them, this place was surrounded by a dark and mysterious secret. Many believed that something ancient was buried beneath the soil of this farm, something that did not belong to the human world. Long ago, someone might have unknowingly disturbed that hidden power, and ever since then, strange and unsettling events had been linked to this place. But before we continue, if you enjoy mysterious and terrifying stories like this, make sure to subscribe to this horror channel so you don't miss the next chilling story. And now, let's begin today's tale. The story centers around a young professor and writer named Jeremy Frears. Tired of the noise and chaos of the city, he decided to move somewhere quiet so he could focus on his writing. That's how he ended up renting an old farmhouse in a remote rural area. The place was called Poroth Farm. The surroundings were peaceful, but eerie vast open fields, a dense forest in the distance, and almost no neighbors nearby. At first, everything seemed normal. Jeremy enjoyed the silence and found the environment perfect for writing. But after a few days, he began to notice something strange about the place. While exploring the land one afternoon, Jeremy discovered a group of large stones arranged in a perfect circle. The stones looked ancient, as if they had once been used for some kind of ritual or ceremony. The discovery sparked his curiosity. When he asked some local villagers about it, their reactions were strange. They became quiet and uncomfortable, avoiding his questions. A few of them only gave him a warning. It was better not to go near that place at night. This warning only made Jeremy more curious. One day, while visiting a nearby old library, he found a strange book about ancient myths and forgotten powers. The book spoke about entities that existed long before humans walked the earth. It also described certain places where the boundary between our world and another unknown realm was dangerously thin. As Jeremy read more, a terrifying idea formed in his mind. The stone circle at Poroth Farm might be one of those places, a gateway where something from another world could cross into ours. Not long after that realization, strange things began happening around him. Late at night, Jeremy often felt as if someone or something was watching him. When he looked out across the dark fields, he sometimes thought he saw movement in the distance, but whenever he focused his eyes, there was nothing there. At times, the wind carried faint whispering sounds, as if voices were speaking in a language he could not understand. The sound was so unnatural that it sent chills down his spine. One night, driven by curiosity and fear, Jeremy decided to visit the stone circle in the darkness. Under the pale light of the moon, the place looked even more mysterious. The stones stood silently in the field like ancient guardians. As he stepped closer, he suddenly felt a strange vibration beneath his feet. The ground seemed to tremble slightly, as if something enormous was moving deep underground. Then Jeremy saw something that froze him in place. In the darkness beyond the stones, a massive shadow moved slowly. It wasn't human, and it wasn't an animal either. It looked like something far beyond human understanding. The air around him became heavy and suffocating. Jeremy felt as if reality itself was beginning to bend and crack, and something from the darkness was trying to break through into the world. After that terrifying night, Jeremy could no longer stay at Poroth Farm. He left the place as quickly as he could. But before leaving, he wrote one final note in his diary. He wrote that there are certain places on Earth that act like cracks in reality, places where something ancient and unknown is watching our world from the other side. Poroth Farm, he believed, was one of those places. And the most terrifying thought of all, that unknown presence might still be there today, buried beneath the soil, silently waiting. Perhaps one day, someone will visit that place again. And if they do, whatever sleeps beneath Poroth Farm might awaken once more.